We read there in verse 36, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" Verse 37, "Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?" True discipleship is reasoned in two ways. First of all, it is reasoned in terms of profit. There are various degrees of wealth to be had in this world. There are the rich people who are able to travel in first class. I'm told that to get an airplane flight, whenever the flights are up and running again, from London to New York would cost around £3,500. Whereas economy, well, that's a lot less. It's a fraction of £800. And if you fly out in British Airways first class, you get your own private spacious suite. You'll get a fully flat bed with mattress and duvet. You'll get indulgent dining. You'll get access to luxurious lounges and spa treatments. And you'll get a very attentive service. That is the wealthy of this world. But there's a wealth above that. Because while there are those who travel in first class, there are those then who are wealthier because they own their own plane. People like Angelina Jolie, the actress. And there they get the flexibility, the luxury, and the thrill of flying themselves. And then there's a degree of wealth above that again. Because while you get those who can fly in first class, those who can own their own plane, yet you get those then who own their own airline. The likes of Michael O'Leary, CEO of Ryanair, worth over 400 million pounds. And then you get those who are richer than that again. You get the likes of Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, 13 billion. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, 25 billion. Bill Gates, worth 34 billion. Billion pound. Such huge, vast sums of money. And yet you take the likes of Bill Gates, and yet you compare that to all the financial wealth of this world, and I tell you, what percentage do you think it is? Do you think it's 15%, 10%? Do you think it's 5%, 20%? The wealth of Bill Gates compared to the wealth of this world is not even 0.5%. And yet, we're only looking at money. There's other riches in this world: pleasure, lands, influence, fame, power. And yet ask yourself, this is the reasoning that Christ gives you. He says, "What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" Even if you were to become like Bill Gates, how long would you possess the riches for? 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, by the time you get to that stage? That's nothing compared to what you will lose in eternity. And what you will have in eternity. You can have 10, 20, 30, 50, even 70 years of ultimate pleasure on this earth and sin. And yet you will have an eternity in hell. You can have 70 years of pleasure on this earth, but yet you will miss eternal joy and satisfaction and glory. What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? You know, even if you were to get the likes of Bill Gates and his wealth, it's only 0.5%. And yet you and I are never likely to get to the wealth of Bill Gates. Unless some of you are hiding something I don't know. What a folly to live for this world. You see, true discipleship is reasoned by looking in the terms of profit, but also looking at the terms of value. You see, the second part in verse 37 is, "What shall a man give in exchange for his soul?" Now, if I was to ask you, how much would you give me? How much would you be willing to receive for one of your eyes? £10,000? What about £100,000? Write a cheque and give you £100,000 if you give me one of your eyes tonight. Would you be willing to do that? And yet the Lord brings out the scales here. And Christ puts everything on one side that this world can offer. And on the other side, Christ puts one soul. How do men lose their souls? They lose their souls by neglect, chiefly. I'm sure you and I will know people who will look after their bodies very well. They'll go for their walks and go for their runs. They'll go to the gym perhaps. They'll eat healthily. They'll look up new recipes and make sure they get their balanced diet and the right amount of calories and protein and everything else. And yet they spend zero amount of time in the day thinking about their soul. It's easy to be neglectful. It's easy to come to church. It's easy to listen in online. And whenever the gospel's being preached, that you just yawn